Wife Material Podcast, Understanding Men, Secrets Revealed. Well, the idea is that before you even get to the point of even being married, right? Because that's a huge commitment, right? That's not that different from like a career, right? You're not gonna just like flip burger, go to McDonald's and flip burgers for the rest of your life, right? It should be a stepping stone, right? That should just help you get used to working, and then you can, upgrade over time and get to the point that you want to get to. That's where dating, and then getting engaged, and then marriage, right? So you work your way up to it. You don't just immediately go from single to married. You gotta work your way up, right? You gotta earn it, right? You gotta get promoted. Marriage is a promotion, right? It's a career. It's a lifetime thing. It's not a fun time thing, a one-time thing. It's not part-time. It's full-time. So it's very important to understand it. You need to understand the job. It's not enough to know your role as a wife, but understand the roles of a husband. Understand your husband's roles, right? Understand, what he's doing and your part in it, right? If he's like, I'll use some examples. If he's a doctor, right, you got to understand how it is to be the wife of a doctor. If he's a cop, if he's a lawyer, if he's the president of the United States of America, like stuff like that. You got to understand what it means to be, a wife for those types of guys, right? Because they're doing something. It's not like they're sitting at home playing video games all the time. So you're essentially just a mom wife, right? Where you play the role of being, his wife, but also his mother, because he's not doing much of anything else other than probably staying home most of the time, because maybe he's into crypto trading and that's how he makes his money. So he spends most of the time indoors, pretty much acting like an adult teenager, right? A man child. Like, teach them. I'm not saying that it's wrong to be with a man like that. With a guy like that, it's just, hey, teach them. It's not like everybody got to be, a CEO of a company or something like that for you to get married. Teach them, right? But you gotta understand your role, right? You gotta understand that if you choose to be with a guy who makes his money, through video games or through, other activities that probably causes him to stay home more often than not, then you're gonna have to, deal with that type of lifestyle. Or if he's the type of guy that travels a lot, you have to deal with that lifestyle, and the list goes on. So you got to understand these factors. Now that's for another podcast episode where, the different types of husbands, basically, right? Right now we're just going to talk about the basic stuff, the basic understanding of men in general. You gotta know a man, right? One, what makes a man, and two, how to interact with a man. Because when you understand him, you're better suited, right? You can help him with whatever he needs. That's important to understand. It is weird. Females always talk about communication, and guys don't communicate. They don't share things, blah blah blah, and all this stuff, and that's incorrect. The thing is that a lot of times y'all don't listen. Right? Y'all don't listen to learn. Y'all listen to react, right? Y'all listen to feel something. So that's why when people speak, y'all focusing on how it makes you feel. So if a guy is telling you you're doing something wrong and they're kind of raising their voice, you immediately focus on the sound of their voice, the tone. You totally ignore the fact that they're correcting you for being wrong. You're wrong about something and they're correcting you on it. And you're focusing on the tone, because to you the tone equals emotions. So if the guy's raising his voice, right, his voice is getting deeper, you automatically translate that to anger. So then you focus on the emotion, right? Oh, are you angry at me? Why are you angry at me? Well, and just focus on that. It's like, well, you know why he's angry. If you want to go that route, he's angry because you made him angry, right? You did something extremely wrong. Like, let's say you burned down the house. He has the right to raise his voice, and he has the right to be angry. It makes sense to be angry. Anyone should be angry because you burned down the house. Like, Why wouldn't he be angry? But the problem is that you rather focus on the fact that he's angry and then you feel some type of way about it. Like there's no justification for it. It's like, no, there is a justification for it. You burned down the house. Now you're homeless. And the house wasn't cheap. And you didn't help pay for it. So, like, as an example, maybe you did help pay for it. But the point is if you didn't, even worse, you didn't pay for it and then you burn it down. That's two strikes against you right there. But anyway, it's important to understand, what makes a man or a guy in general. There's a possibility you'll probably marry a beta male, right? A guy who's more feminine than a man, right? Or a man child, a guy who's more, immature, more childlike, less, responsible, less manly, right? And then there's the men, good quality, good guys, good dudes that, they about their business, about structure and this and that and leadership, all that stuff. Pretty much king behavior, right? Boss behavior, leadership behavior. But then you got the assholes. Sometimes people like to use the term misogynist or the toxic masculinity. It's like, okay, again, there's different types of guys. There's not just one. There's not just boys when they're young and then men when they're old and that's it. Like, no, there's variations, right? Once a guy, turns 18, from 18 until the day he dies, he's just a male, right? Just a male. And now he has to prove himself. Now he has to become a man. Same goes for a female, but for different, there's different qualifications to become a woman than to become a man. A man, you definitely have to become. A woman, ironically, it's not much about becoming a woman. It's more about maintaining your womanhood, right? Maintaining your dignity, right? Maintaining your respect. And you definitely want the respect of men. So, not being a 304, not having hot girl summer, not partying and being, having OnlyFans and stuff like that. These types of things will, by not doing these types of things, will help you maintain your woman status, right? Your womanhood. So once you become 18, you're getting into your womanhood, and the idea is to maintain it and to improve upon it, right? And to master the art of being a woman, right? There's strength in being a woman. Women are strong in their own ways, just like men are strong in their own ways, right? In different ways. Men and women are different. But like I said, men got to become men, which means they have to learn from their mistakes, right? They have to do better. They have to be better. They have to treat people better. So a real man will, one, try not to raise his voice, try to be a little bit more, control of his emotions, right? But there are limits, so don't get it wrong. A real man, right, does have limits. We're not perfect. We're not supermen. We're just men, right? There's a difference. Now, Superman, yeah, that'd be the type of guy that regardless of what you do, even if you burn down the house, he won't raise his voice. That'd be a Superman. But most guys aren't men, and then being a Superman is even, going to be harder, right? And that's too much, right? As in, like, that's not likely. It's not likely for you to have a Superman, right? So get what you can get, ladies, but definitely at least try to get yourself, a decent guy. But that's, you gotta understand at least the basic of a guy, right? The basics of a male. Guys, obviously physical strength is one aspect of men. Logic, guys are typically problem solvers. That is their main thing. They love solving problems. This is part of why they like stuff like video games and other activities that's similar to that, sports and stuff, because these are things that you have to learn rules, right? And you have to learn the instructions. Then you have to, do your best and succeed and be a winner with these rules, right? Because these rules are supposed to restrict you, prevent you from being able to do certain things and whatnot. And this is why, cheating is wrong, right? Cheating in the game is wrong, right? that's frowned upon. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people, a lot of guys who would cheat, which is obviously wrong and not a manly thing to do. It's very unmanly to cheat. A real man can succeed even when the odds are against him. A real man can succeed even when the rules are unfair, unfavorable. Even when he's limited to what he can do, he will do it. He will do his best. He will try to, succeed where, most people might not succeed or might not even try because too much restrictions. So there's that, right? And then there's men have emotions. Obviously, we have emotions. Our male and female's biologies are a lot alike. So of course we have emotions. We have chemicals running through our bodies that trigger certain feelings and emotions. The thing is, men and male and female, our emotions are more negative than positive. We have more negative emotions than we have positive emotions. Part of it is because of survival purposes, right? Since there's a lot of danger, and danger is not a positive thing, right? Danger, it makes sense that our emotions tend to lean towards the danger zone, right? As opposed to, bliss, right? Happiness, serotonin, all that stuff. This is why, plus we appreciate, happiness and love and things like that more because of the constant negativity, right? Because of the constant feeling of fear and danger and sadness and depression and doubt and drought, despair, and all these other, negative feelings, anger, fear. I already said fear. Mad, right? Mad, annoyed. Like, we have tons of words that describe different negative feelings, but we have very few positive words for feelings like love, respect, right? Love, happiness, love, happiness. What was it? The feeling of love, feeling of happiness, feeling of excitement. You get my point. See, it's hard to even list a whole bunch of, happy emotions, because normally we just say happy. Like, I'm happy. Life is good. I'm happy. I'm in love. This is a good feeling. And that's it. Like, we don't have that many words to describe the different levels of happiness, right? We just be like, oh, I'm happy. I don't know. I just feel good for no reason. I don't know why I feel good. It's like, okay, you feel good, right? Good is a term for, a happy feeling. But it's like, okay, you don't know why you feel good, but you do, right? Just like sex feels good, right? Right? Makes you happy. So there's that, right? So serotonin is, one of the things that's associated with that. So like I said, not that many positive feelings. We tend to have a lot of negative feelings, which is why we appreciate and lean towards positive feelings. And females definitely want positive feelings all the time. But ironically, sometimes they can get overdose, right? They can be too happy too long that they get bored, right? Where they're like, oh, I don't like that everything is fine, everything is peaceful, everything is good, things is getting boring. So then they'll create a problem, a drama, right? They'll create a reason for there to be something negative, something to be mad about, just so they can, lower their happiness, right? Their serotonin, right? But then they want to be happy again, right? So then, because they want to get that high again, because they're already high on the serotonin, so they want to. So it's kind of like, like a drug addict. But females are addicted to their biology, right? Addicted to their emotions. This is why we say that females are more emotional than men. They make decisions based off their emotions more than men do, because men know that most of our emotions are negative. We get mad about stuff. We get annoyed about stuff. We get thoughts of like we want to break something or hurt someone because of something happened, right? We have negative feelings, which is not a good idea for us to be expressing it, because the way we express these feelings is physically, because guys are physical, not really, mental when it comes. Well, we're more physical than psychological, right? When it comes to certain things. So when our emotions get involved, we get physical. That's where, that's why it's not a good idea for guys to be expressing their emotions, this and that. No, they need to control it. And if they want to express their emotions, right, negatively, right, their negative emotions, and they want to get violent, right, get physical with their negative emotions, it's better for them to be around a whole bunch of dudes who can help them with that by kicking his ass. Right, if need be, not saying that they definitely should automatically do it or anything. I'm just saying that if need be, all right, put on some boxing gloves and let's have at it, or let's wrestle, or whatever, or let's just fight it out right here in the streets or something like that. I've been in similar scenarios like that where, a guy got very emotional. I tried to calm him down, but, his emotions were very high and he wanted to get violent. And I did my best to try to calm him down, but I was like, all right, well, do whatever. You want to over-exaggerate, you want to get emotional, you want to act weak and be all emotional and act like and I said it, act like a girl, go ahead, swing, I dare you. Well, he didn't take me up on the offer, and he, calmed down, rethought it, and, thought through the situation, and then we just talked about it. We just talked about, that's bullshit. Like, you weren't wrong with, the situation, you know what I mean? And we, were able to talk it out. But the thing is, violence had to be involved in the situation, or at least, suggested or implied, in order for it to go from, feelings to violence to back to feelings and then to logic, right? The idea is to get them back to logic. It's like, okay, you want to be emotional, which means you're being irrational, which means you're going to get violent. All right, so you want to get physical. Oh, you change your mind. You don't want to get physical. Okay, let's get back to logic, right? Let's get back to understanding why you feel this way. Let's talk about it. Bang, back to logic. And then realize that it wasn't even that deep. It wasn't even worth going through the whole process, but sometimes you got to go through the process. This is why sometimes we see a scenario where, like, guys, whether they be old or young, they're fighting. A lot of times guys, us men, we allow it. We're like, no, this has to happen. Let them fight it out. This has to happen. They have to let it out. Right? Sometimes we allow it. We allow the violence to happen because they both of them need to experience, how emotions control you and how emotions can get out of control, and how it feels when you're expressing your emotions through your hands, through your fists, and then somebody else is expressing their emotions back at you with their fists, and then you'll realize, I don't like this. I don't like getting punched in the face. I think I'm gonna stop being emotional, not having emotions, not caring about anything, but it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna control my emotions more. I don't want to end up in a scenario where I'm getting punched in the face, right? I'd rather avoid that. So it's just the idea of consequences. A guy getting emotional has consequences. A guy gets emotional because his wife cheated on him, gave him STDs, and the person she cheated on him was his own father. If he bitch slaps her, it makes sense that he did that because she was in the super wrong. But again, it would be better that he didn't slap her, right? Ideally, but we can understand. We can be like, okay, we get it. That was a very extreme situation, so you got very emotional, which equaled violence. It would have been better if you were able to control yourself and be able to focus on what matters. One, taking care of the STD, right? That's more important than the mistake she made, right? Because the mistake she made is gonna hurt her more than you. The STDs will hurt you, and you might want to fix that. Right? I mean, this hypothetical example is pretty extreme. there's layers to it, but ultimately it's like, we all need to do better on both sides, both male and female. But anyway, back to understanding men, and then horniness, right? Guys being horny, right? It's like, you gotta understand this, like, guys don't choose to be horny, right? We don't choose to be horny. We don't choose to have sex, right? You can't be like, oh, see, man, all they want is sex. All they want, no, it's not a want. When we're horny, it's a need, not a want. That's the difference. When a female decides that she wants to have sex with a guy, that's a decision she makes. So that's why females think that when guys want to have sex, it's a choice. It's like, no, it's not a choice. There's things about you that triggered his, need to, well, I'm gonna say it, the biological thing, reproduce. Guys are designed biologically, evolutionarily, to be ready to impregnate a woman at a moment's notice. Anything could happen. Anything could happen. I mean, God forbid, after he gets you pregnant, he walks outside to go buy you a gift or something. I don't know, whatever reason he's going out, and then he gets hit by a car or gets gunned down or something. Like something bad happens to him and now he's dead. Right? Well, at least he was able to leave a legacy behind. Not in the best situation, but he was able to, right? And that's because he was on a moment's notice ready to reproduce. And that's the thing. When a female decides she wants to be with a guy, right? Because females are choosing who they have sex with. Men just have to be ready for when a female is ready and a female chooses to have sex, to have sex. So that's the thing. It's like we don't choose to have sex, right? This is part of why, guys, watch porn and stuff like that, is because we need to take care of that urge, that feeling. And then females will complain about like, well, you guys don't have self-control. It's like, it's very hard to control because it's a very strong feeling, right? You got to understand that it's literally an overriding function. Like, we go from, not, caring about a woman's looks, body, whatever, like we focus on things that we care about the most as top priority. But as soon as we get horny, you're top priority. You become the most important thing. Having sex with you becomes the most important thing. This is why guys can get very aggressive with it, because that's all that's in the mind. It's kind of like a zombie, right? A zombie has no interest in anything other than eating, right? It's hungry. It's very primitive. It goes down to its most basic function, which is food, right? Eating as sustenance. So when a guy gets horny, that's all it is. It's just going down to a basic function, right? You can't fault a guy for being horny, because that's something out of his control. That's why sometimes guys, wake up with boners. They don't control that. They don't control their boners. There's even little kids, like little, newborn babies and stuff will get a boner, right? If he sees a female, because he's designed to literally react that way. He's supposed to, get a boner, when the time comes. He's supposed to be ready for, when he's needed. So that's why it's not surprising that guys are horny. Scientifically, it's been proven that guys are horny, almost every 30 seconds or something like that. Or at least they think about sex because something made them think about it. Right? I could be minding my own business. I could be solving a mathematical equation. See a chick with like a skirt on or something, walk right by my peripherals, and bang, now I'm thinking about her and in that skirt. Totally being distracted from what I was doing, which was solving this big, huge mathematical problem, right? And that's the thing. Guys lose focus and stop focusing on the things that matter to them the most, their priorities, and they override their priorities with the primitive imperative, reproduction. Sex is to reproduce. It is not for fun. It is not for love. It's literally to reproduce. It's to make another human being. That is the point of sex. I'm not going to get into the whole, like pro-life, pro-choice, scenario, but you get the point. It's like, that's why it makes no sense for females to be like, date a guy and think sex is not on the table. Marry a guy and think sex is not on the table. It's like, okay, I use sex to get you to marry me, but now I'm not going to give it to you no more. It's like, no, that is wrong. Marriage was, sex is part of the arrangement, right? It's part of the scenario. The reason for the marriage is to guarantee, right, and to agree that I get all these benefits, right? As in your companionship, right? You know, sexual relationship, right? These are things that are supposed to be guaranteed as part of the deal of marriage. If we're going to start taking things off the table and start taking things back and start trying to renegotiate after marriage, even though we already agreed to be for each other, to each other, and belong to each other, that's the whole point of marriage. That's why marriage nowadays is done through the states, is done through legal legal work. Why are we signing contracts, right? Why are we getting marriage licenses? It's because we're agreeing to belong to one another. Same thing as when you get a business license, right? Same thing as when you get a deed to a property or a house or something like that, right? So this idea of like, oh, women aren't property. When you're single, you're not property, obviously, because you're single, right? You're still on the market. But once somebody buys you, aka offers, agrees to be in a relationship with you, or I should say, agrees to let you be in a relationship with them, they chose you to be their, their partner, right? Their other half of a relationship. Yes, you belong to them, and vice versa. It's not a one-way street. Y'all belong to each other, and you're supposed to act like it. You're supposed to act like y'all belong to each other and no one else, right? But in modern day times, most females are out here thinking that, it's like, yeah, I can be in a relationship, but I must still live my life as if I was not in a relationship. Like, no, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't be single and married. That makes no sense. That's a contradiction. You can't be a cop and a criminal. Like, that's a contradiction. Not saying you can't do it, right? There are crooked cops, there are bad cops, there are cops that commit crime, but what I'm saying is you're not supposed to be both, right? You're not supposed to be the good guy and the bad guy, right? You're not supposed to be the mommy and the daddy. You're supposed to be one or the other, right? So you're supposed to choose your destiny, right? You're supposed to choose a path and then stay on it. So if you choose to be a wife, be a wife. Not, hot girl summer, not a chick that needs to go to the club every night and have a whole, friend zone full of guys. Like, nah, that's the behavior of a single woman. Once you get married, all that gets thrown away, right? Out with the old, in with the new. Most females don't even understand a lot of the traditions of marriage. The whole idea of out with the old, in with the new. Sometimes you gotta cut ties with friends and family for your new beginning, right? For your new relationship, because this relationship is new, you chose it, and you're supposed to act like it's a brand new beginning, a new chapter in your life. You're not supposed to hold on to a whole bunch of old stuff. I'm not saying completely get rid of friends and family. I'm just saying that the ones who are not benefiting your new relationship, right? Your new situation, which is marriage. You need to cut those people, the ones who are against the marriage, the people who want the marriage to fall apart. Those you need to get rid of, right? Because they don't care about you. If anything, they care to use you for their own benefits. They don't want you to have any benefits, which is why they'll ruin your marriage. So that's why you gotta keep your single friends away from you, because they will literally cause you to ruin your marriage and go right back to being single. And that's not good for many people. Many females can't handle being single after a certain age range. Sometimes they just can't handle being single, period. Which is why they go from one relationship to the next, because they can't not be in a relationship. Which is why they end up being habitual career relationships type of female. They just keep jumping from one dude to the next because they can't be single too long. But yeah, like I said, it's like you gotta understand, why guys do what they do. You gotta understand, the sexual behaviors, sexual appetite. There are different types of guys. There are guys who like to have different partners. If you're okay with accepting that, then you do you. If you're not okay with it, then definitely don't be with a guy like that. Be with a different guy. Just just find what best works for you and make it work. Right? Because we all know ideally we would like to get a piece of paper, right? Write down what we want. Or you might want to do that. Like take a piece of paper, write down what do you want in a husband, and then, right, what do you expect him to do, as a husband, right, as your man, and what you expect him to look like, this and that, and just see how realistic your list is. See how realistic it is for you to get that type of guy. How many guys you already dealt with came even close to your list. I wouldn't be surprised only one or two, like maybe 2-3 things on your list was what all your exes or all the guys you dealt with, that's what they had. They only had those 3 qualities. They didn't have all the other things you wanted. And then when you really, really look closely at the list, you might notice that a lot of stuff you want from a guy is stuff that you like stuff you do, like, things like that. Like you might say, oh, I want a guy who likes poetry. It's like, okay, yeah, because you like poetry. But on average, realistically, how many guys do you know like poetry? Probably not that many, so why even put that on the list? Why even expect a guy to like poetry when the odds are they probably don't, right? Poetry is not that popular, right? Rap music is more popular than poetry. So can you find a guy who likes rap music? Yeah, you'll find more of those than a guy who likes poetry, right? You'll find a guy who likes sports. You definitely should find a guy, especially if you're a straight female. You definitely should find a guy who likes females, right? Likes women. So that shouldn't be no surprise. So it's like, that's why you gotta understand guys, especially a straight guy. You gotta understand, he likes females, he likes women, right? So that's something you gotta keep in mind. And again, it's part of the biology, right? It's not a choice. They don't choose to like the opposite sex. No, they biologically like the opposite sex, and that's just the way it is. So, and the same applies to you, of course, right? You like what you like. So you gotta understand that. You gotta understand that, a guy would do his best to control his emotions, but at the same time, try not to trigger his emotions. The thing is, the way it used to be back in the day, and I'm that old. Back in my day, the way it's supposed to be, it was that guys, definitely had a lot of negative emotions, especially because they did a lot of physical labor. They dealt with a lot of stress. They get mad at their boss or a coworker, and they're mad. They come home unhappy. The wife is supposed to make him happy. He's already expressing emotion, anger. You're supposed to know how to calm him down, right? He's coming in the house like the Hulk. You're supposed to know how to calm him down so that way he doesn't smash things, doesn't smash your face in, right? You're supposed to know how to calm the beast, right? Because your man was out here working hard, dealing with other guys, and some of the guys he dealt with probably are assholes. So for him, it's like, oh man, it's a constant, battle, constant, issue on a daily basis, going to work, dealing with these, assholes that he has to deal with. Then he comes home. It's not a good idea for his wife, the love of his life, to be an asshole to him too, because then now, remember, he's already on fight mode, right? Fight or flight, right? Fight or flight. So he's already on fight mode with work, and then he comes home and now he has to be in a fight mode again. Nah, you're supposed to be his relief. You're supposed to be his emotional rock, his support. You're supposed to have the emotional intelligence to know, okay, he's stressed, he's mad, let me make him happy. And I already know how to do that because I know him. I took the time and effort to get to understand my man, right? My husband, what he likes and what he dislikes, what makes him happy, what makes him not happy. I already know him. And that's why I'm the best person for him, right? That's why I'm the best wife for him, the best woman for him, because I know him. I care enough to know him better than his own mama, better than anyone else, better than he knows himself. I know him better than he knows himself. That's the mindset that females used to have back in the day, and definitely should have now. Is you supposed to know your man better than he knows himself. Like, a lot of times you shouldn't even need to ask him how how he feels or what's going on or anything like that. You should already know, because you know him well enough to know. You should know him well enough to know when he's not happy, when he's thinking, when he's concerned, when he wants to be left alone, when he doesn't want to be left alone, right? You're supposed to know all these things because that's supposed to be your thing. You're a female. Your thing is emotion, right? Not physical stuff. Physical stuff, that's his domain. That's his skill set. Your skill set is emotions. So you're supposed to be his emotional, right? His emotional doctor. When he feels bad, you're supposed to make him feel good. Ever heard of sexual healing? That's a thing. That's a thing. So you're supposed to be the one that, fixes his heart, right? Let's say he gets fired from his job. Well, he's gonna feel like a failure. He's gonna feel bad. Emotions, right? Doubt, stress, like, oh shit, I gotta find another job. I wasn't expecting to get fired. Shit. Now what I'm gonna do? It's not gonna help you nagging at him and complaining the bills need to be paid, this, that, and the third, blah, 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 all this nonsense, making the situation worse. You're supposed to be the support. You're supposed to be his cheerleader, right? You're supposed to cheer him on. You're supposed to be his motivational speaker. You're supposed to let him know it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be fine. You believe in him, you have faith in him. He's the man, all the things you need to say. There's tons of positive things that you can say. And that's the thing, you're supposed to bring positivity, happiness into his life. And in return, you get the happiness because of it. You're supposed to be, the main person who is there when he needs the female support, right? The female emotional support, the female, advice giver, right? Or the female, just, at least the inspiration, right? And motivation, When it comes to like major problem solving, like solving major issues, and that's the thing. As a female, it's very important I point this out. As a woman in general, right? As a female, it's very important for you to always remind guys that you're dealing with that whenever they have an issue, like a problem, like, trying to find a job or trying to make more money or trying to do something better with their lives or whatever issues that he has that needs a solution, always remember to remind him that he has guy friends and he should ask them for help, right? Especially if you know some of his guy friends. If you know that, one of his guy friends probably could help him out with the problem, make sure you mention them, right? Like, oh, Bobby can help you. He knows the standard about cars. He can help you with your car issue, right? As opposed to you just complaining, nagging, or saying stuff like, oh, take it to the mechanics or some shit like that. No, just remind him that he has that he has options, right? That he has friends. For him not to think that he's alone. He's not alone. He got you. Not only does he got you, he got family, he got friends, right? He got co-workers, right? He got people, right? And you gotta always remind him of that. Just like if he feels alone and feels, him versus the world, you gotta remind him that it's not him versus the world, it's you and him versus the world. So that's just a little bit of information right there for you ladies. Something really important to keep in mind when you're dealing with a guy in general, whether relationship or not. I mean, even if the guy is just a friend or a family member, like a brother or something, always remind them that they're not alone. There's people out here that can help them, this and that there. Because I do be hearing a lot of stuff about guys harming themselves because they feel alone. They feel they don't feel their best, right? They don't feel like supermen. They feel weak. And sometimes that's the importance of females, is to remind the guy that you're not weak. You have a lot of great, strong qualities about your personality, about your physique. You're physically strong. Make use of it, things of that, right? You're a man. Be logical. Solve your problem logically. Don't be emotional. That's the thing. Back in my day, females weren't talking about, feel, express your emotions. Get therapy. Talk to me and tell me how you feel. Like, no. Back in the day, it was like, you know, you had to get control of your feelings. You had to, if you have a problem that's making you feel bad, you need to solve the problem so you can stop feeling bad. That's the way it used to be. That's the, what women used to say. That you gotta get control of your feelings. You gotta stop being, so emotional. I mean, another term for it is the man up term. Like, you gotta man up. And I've heard that term used by females a lot. And it's good. I like that word. I love that phrase. Damn right, man up. Exactly. Not just stop bitching, not stop crying, stop being a little girl, man, stop being weak. No, man up. There's nothing disrespectful or derogatory of that, right? It's the truth. Man up. Step up. Level up to manhood, right? Unleash your full power. Stop thinking you're weak and realize that you're not weak. You're a man and act like it. Man up. It's just another way of saying act like a man. Unleash your full capability. Stop thinking, you don't have options. You have options. Use them. Right? Flex your strength, mental and physical. So there's that. But like, logic, right? I always talk about, like, men are logical. A lot of the decisions are usually made through logic, right? Through critical thinking, through reasoning, through common sense. But since we do have emotions, there are times where our emotions cloud our judgment, cloud our logic, right? Our logic functions, and we become illogical. And that's where violence and other bad, negative behaviors come from, right? Crime and stuff like that comes from emotions. That's why it's like recently today I saw, I was watching a stream and there was a female that came on and she started talking about trying to say that guys, suppressing their emotions, guys being told not to be emotional and this, that, and the third is what's causing a lot of guys to hurt themselves and causing a lot of guys to act out negatively. When in reality, no, it's the opposite. It's the lack of emotional control. It's the fact that guys are being emotional, are expressing their feelings and stuff like that, is why the bad things are happening. That's the problem. It's not they're not expressing their emotions. It's that they are expressing emotions. That's the problem. This is why we say that guys are not supposed to express their emotions, because guys' emotions are not expressed just visually, like, oh, I got a sad face, I'm crying. No, it gets expressed physically, and that's where violence comes from when it comes to a guy. This is why a lot of times you see when a female gets really, really, really angry, at first, she feels the emotion. Second, she might start crying, right? Because now she's trying to make you feel bad because her tears tend to make guys feel bad, right? That triggers our emotions. We have a biological reaction to female tears. And then the third stage is when a female gets physical. She gets really mad, the tears go away, and then the rage and her body heat, rises, and then she starts getting physical, right? So even females, express their emotions violently. It's through stages. First is just, feeling the feeling. Second is it's, visually expressing the feeling through tears, through body language. Like her holding herself, like hugging herself, or something like that, or her, crawling away from you, sitting in a corner somewhere, acting all depressed. See, those are visual representation of her feelings. But then there's the physical, and that's when she starts throwing things and starts, disrespecting you, starts saying, you have a small penis and shit like that, like tries to hurt your feelings through verbal assault, right? So that's expressing it physically through verbal assault, right? And physical assault through actually hitting you and throwing things at you, right? So there's different layers. For guys, the process is pretty much similar, but it's usually on average. It's just we feel the emotion, and if the emotion is strong enough, we go straight into the physical aspect of the emotions. We skip a couple steps, right? We don't get emotional, then start crying, and start acting like we're sad, and then go into violence. Typically, it's just we feel really mad about something, and then violence, right? Or the physical element, physical expression of our feelings, right? And these are the stages. These are the ways guys and females function, which is why it's important for you to understand. And I'm a guy telling you this. I know I'm a guy, so I'm telling you what you need to know about how guys function. Because if you're trying to be somebody's wife, I mean, like, let's say if you're trying to be my wife, it'd be a good idea for you to know these things, right? These things about me, these things that most guys at the base level we all have in common. Then there's the quirks, right? The unique things, there's some stuff that I'll let females get away with that most guys won't let the females get away with, right? I do prefer a female with a low body count, but it depends on what I want from her. If I just want attention or sexy time, then her body count's irrelevant. But if I want her to be my wife, want to be the love of my life, this and that, she has to be the love of my life. She can't be the lover of multiple men, and I just so happen to be 3001th guy that's been with her. That's not ideal, right? Females have standards, so do I. So if you're gonna be my wife, your body count has to be drastically low. Not not too low. Not too low as in like how low it is not as low as you might think. Ideally, yeah, zero body count would be ideal, especially if you're supposed to be my wife. Your body count should be 0, because I should be the only body that counts. But but anyway, I make room for reality, realistically, especially in the Western world, especially with older females above the age of 25. The likelihood of a low body count is unrealistic. So I'm being realistic and accepting the possibility of a higher body count. But the funny thing is, when it comes to body count, it's the idea of like, well, it depends on the body count. Not the number specifically, but it depends on why the body count exists. So if the body count exists because she was in many relationships and they were long term. So if the relationship lasted like 1 or 2 years per each body count, right? Then it's like, okay, it's acceptable. Like, I could work with that. It's like, at least she's for long-term relationship. So it's like, okay, the body count is not that big of a deal. But if her body count is high because the relationships don't last no longer than an hour or two or a minute, because these are a whole bunch of minute men's, then it's like, yeah, not interested in that. Not interested in a flaky, short-term, spontaneous female, because that's the opposite of what I want. I want something for long term. I want something till death do us part. So can't have somebody who's only good part time. I need a full time lady. So that's why the body count is important. Not necessarily the number, but the reason for the number. The quality versus quantity. So, because you're surprised if a woman has 1,000 body count, but they were all quality, relationships that are attached to each body count. It's like, damn, you're a professional, long-term relationship, right? This is your particular skill set. Is you're good for long-term relationships. You know how to be a girlfriend or a wife or something of that nature. So that looks good on a resume. if that's the case. But if you start a relationship and it ends in less than a week, you're not good for a relationship, a career, this position of being my wife, that kind of stuff. You don't qualify for it. I need somebody who can do the job for a long time, not for a short time. So the logic, right? Sometimes we're not, you know, sometimes we forget logic because emotion is clouding our judgment, our logic, and females are supposed to, you know, remind us of our logic, right? Supposed to get us to stop being emotional, not nag us to be more emotional. That's the opposite of what we need. We need to be reminded to be logical, rational, reasonable, right? Not to be emotional. Emotion is the lack of control, lack of personal control. Same thing as the guy being horny. That's why these two things are very important to understand, right? A guy's sex drive and a guy's emotions, right? These two things need a certain level of control because these are two things that tend to control men, tend to make it where men don't have control, right? Being horny, being emotional, right? Interesting enough, females are more evolutionarily geared to recover from heartbreak faster, right, than guys, right? So guys tend to be way more attached to females, especially because yes, our horniness, right, our need of access to your bodies for reproduction makes us more attached to y'all than y'all attached to us, right? Y'all evolutionarily, are designed that if you need to, on a drop of a dime, go from one guy to the next, you can do that biologically, right? So you're able to do that. Not saying that you can be out here, hot girl summer and just have a whole bunch of dudes, taking turns on you, and you'll be okay. That will have, psychological effects on you, obviously. So you can't be out here trying to be like a female version of a fuck boy. It won't work for you like it would for a guy. But to a certain degree, you do have the ability to be able to go from one guy to the next in a shorter period of time. It'll still take time for you to truly, transition from the last guy you're with to the new guy. This is why I see it time again. This is why whenever a female was in a relationship, and then she's like, oh, the relationship is over, it was a toxic relationship, blah blah blah, all that negative, right? Once she gets with a new guy, she's happy at first, right? Oh yeah, new guy, I feel great, he's a great guy, blah blah blah, right? At first, but then not too long after that, immediately the thoughts of her past relationship, the relationship she just left, starts creeping into the new relationship. She brings over the issues from the last relationship to the new relationship because she has not yet fully transitioned from one relationship to the next. She hasn't let go of all the things she didn't like about her ex. So now the new guy, if he does anything similar to her ex, immediately she treats him as if he's the ex. And that's not right for the new guy to be punished for the sins of the last guy, right? To be punished for the misbehaviors of the last guy. So this is one of the issues you see that happens a lot. Females, they jump into relationships too quick. Once they get dumped, immediately the next day they're putting on some outfit to get attention. They'll go somewhere where there's going to be guys and hope a guy hits on them, and bang, like she'll just immediately go out there and try to get another guy, right? A rebound guy, whatever you want to call it. Instead of giving herself time, instead of waiting a week, right? Be single for a week. Try to avoid men, try to focus on yourself, try to understand that, try to figure out, like, was it really him that was the problem in the relationship, or was it me? Right? The whole reflection thing, the whole, taking care of myself, my mental health, all that stuff, finding myself, all the stuff that females like to say, that there should be a week or two gap between your last guy and your new guy, because you got to get rid of all the old baggage, all the old negatives and thoughts and stuff like that from the last guy before you get with the new guy, because you're just going to treat the new guy like the last guy, and this new guy could be the perfect guy for you. He could be great, but because you're looking at him through these tainted, glasses, right? These tainted lens. You're looking through him through negative feelings, not emotion, not logic, through feelings and emotions. You're treating the new guy, who's great, who's a great guy, like if he was your ex's. I mean, I've had a scenario like that, happen, where I was noticing I was being treated a certain way, and a couple of times, certain mention of her ex popped up. Like she'll mention, certain details of her ex or exes, right? She'll talk about the guys she's been with before and bring them up, and it's like, it's a little interesting that you're bringing up your ex-boyfriends, and right now you're mad at me, and right now you're complaining. And it's like, but I didn't do anything to deserve this. It's one thing if I did something wrong and you brought up that I did something wrong before, so you're showing that I have a pattern of doing things wrong. No, I did something or nothing at all, but then you're going to be like, okay, well, one of my ex did this, did that. It's like, okay, yeah, that was him. He did that. I didn't do that. That's why he's your ex and not me. Yet, anyway. I'm not your ex. I'm your current guy. He was your ex, and he's your ex for a reason, because he did those things you didn't like. Okay, that's him doing that. That's not me. Don't blame me for what he did. And that's the thing. That tends to happen a lot. Sometimes females don't let go of, certain emotions. Just like females are known to hold grudges. Remember, grudges is emotional, not logical. So a female still mad at her preschool classmate or something, or some girl in preschool, she's still mad at her now. It's like, damn, you're 40 years old and you still mad about this girl you met in preschool? Like, that makes no sense. Y'all adults now. That was the past. That don't matter no more. But, emotions, right? One of the things about emotions are tied to memory and vice versa. So that's why when a female gets emotional, right, about something, she'll remember it, and then she'll bring it back up later on, because emotion equals memory. So keep that in mind. An understanding of females is that females are simple, right? Because they mainly make decisions largely based off their emotions. So, whenever so that's the thing. They mainly make decisions based off their emotions. So anything that makes them happy, that's what they're going to go for. Whatever makes them not happy is what they're going to go against. So happy equals yes, sad equals no, or unhappy equals no. This is why even when you point out that, the truth, right? Like, oh, females' behavior is like this and that. Females, do like guys who been with multiple women, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, even though that's true, that's facts. Her hearing that is going to make her feel negative, so then she's going to disagree, obviously. So she's going to feel some type of way of it, but eventually later on she'll like, yeah, that's true. I am more attracted to a guy who, it has experience with females, and I've met some females like that who admitted that, like, that that they're attracted to me because they thought, that, I'm very popular with the ladies, or they heard other females talk about me, and so they shot this, they shoot the shot at me and try to get me before they did. It's like, wait, so there's groups of females out here, right, that like me, and since you heard about that, heard about me through them, you immediately made sure you got me before they got a chance. Like, that's funny, but okay, whatever. Hey, good game. Well played, my lady. Well played. You shot your shot, and you won, right? You scored, so good for you. But it is kind of funny, the idea, because sometimes, guys should definitely notice this. Whenever they get a girlfriend, suddenly all these females showing them attention, flirting with them and stuff like that. And it's like, what was all of this? Where was all this energy when I was single? Now I got a girlfriend. Now y'all want me. Like, I've had that scenario happen before. where I like certain girls, right, certain females. I let them know that I like them, but then they try to act like they don't like me. It's like, okay, you don't like me, I'm not your type, that's fine. Move on. And then some chick, you know, that likes me, I like her, and it's like, all right. Or maybe I don't like her like that, but she likes me, so it's like, oh, better than nothing, right? I accept, you know, uh, her, even though she's not, my preference or my type or what I want. She's better than nothing. So, you know, I'll accept her love for me, her interest in me. But then the irony, once I get her with this chick, now all the chicks that I wanted now want me. It's like, oh, now y'all want me. Y'all didn't want me when I was single. Now I'm not single. Now you want me. Now I'm desirable. That don't make sense. But ironically, that's the whole point. It's not logical. It's not supposed to make sense, right? It's emotional. So females have they're territorial in a different way. So for them, it's, oh, you know, she has something, and I don't. She has a boyfriend. I don't have a boyfriend. So you know what? I want her boyfriend. Like, damn, what the? Instead of getting your own boyfriend, you want you want somebody else's boyfriend. Like, damn, that's harsh. But y'all females know what I'm talking about. Don't act like y'all don't know. Y'all experienced that. Y'all have done that many times. Y'all thought of taking one of y'all friends' boyfriends, maybe even one of your sister's boyfriends, right? Like, let's not act like that doesn't happen. That happens a lot, more than you think. You know, I'm speaking to guys. Like, clearly, guys, more than you think, guys. Females, have a habit of doing that. They would try to take you from somebody. So don't fall for the temptation. But yeah, very important to understand. Um, as much as you can. Hopefully, I gave you enough information. Obviously, there's tons of things about guys, but this already been over an hour that I've been talking about guys, and trying to understand their emotions, their biology, aka their horniness, right there, their physical strength, as in, like, everything about them tends to be physical related, like sex, right, is physical. Even expressing their emotions will be physical. Um, their need to do things physical, like fix problems physically, and things of that nature. So, and and then of course the logic, right? Problem solving. Where men are built to physically do things, like to lift heavy things, to solve, to do a lot of manual labor. Therefore, we obviously need to have the logic to go with it, the ability to solve a problem, the ability to see something that needs to be assembled. I've put together so many things without reading instructions, even though I support the idea that, yeah, it'd be faster if we just look at the instructions and go from there. A lot of times I just look at the picture on the box of the packaging of whatever I'm gonna put together, and that's usually enough, because I'm like, I'm visual that way. I just look at it, it's like, oh, okay, this is what it's supposed to look like, and then just figure it out that way. I am mechanically inclined. I'm an engineer, at heart and whatnot. So an inventor, right? So fixing things, making things, designing things, problem solving. These are things that are just normal for me, normal for most guys, but definitely extremely normal for me. So that's why it's not surprising I could figure out how to put something together even without instructions. And that'd be the end of the podcast.